going soon. Again, we're doing this with as much care as we can while we take the streets up until a certain point, and then people can make their own decisions on how to move forward. But just keep in mind, we've been taking the streets all summer. We don't need tens of thousands of people to shut down and disrupt this city. And as long as Palestinians are facing genocide, as long as Palestinians are resisting colonization by any means necessary, we must do the same here in New York City. We have to up the stakes. We have to up the stakes not only for ourselves, not only because all of these Zionist organizations exist around us, and yes, they should be afraid. They should be afraid that they exist so brazenly while they support the ongoing genocide of the Palestinian people. Not only to unsettle them, but to inspire people around the country and around the whole world to do the same. Woo! 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 It sucks they close the doors because we can't see that name, but there are a couple of other places we're going to hit today to show you who is funding and who is invested in Zionism, in settler colonialism, and in genocide in this country. Free! Free Palestine! Free! Free Palestine! Free! Free! Free Palestine! Free! Free! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! New York City, you will see! New York City, you will see! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! New York City, you will learn! New York City, you will learn! Refugees will return! New York, New It's funding genocide all over the world, not just in Palestine. all over the world. To globalize the Intifada, to understand the roots of uprising, of rebellion, of revolution, and why people fight for freedom. This country doesn't get to ignore it anymore. While the subway system is falling apart, while it's flooding, while you see videos of rats swimming in New York City's MTA, instead of spending more money to support the transportation system in this country, in this city, that black and brown working class people rely on to get to work every day, they send that money in the form of bombs in Afghanistan. In the form of bombs in Iraq and in Gaza. In the form of drone strikes on Somalia. And that's why we're getting on the train. That's why we're getting on the train to take it everywhere you go. You don't have to come to the protest anymore because the protest is going to come to you. We've been protesting all summer, and we're not going to stop. We bought it from 59th Street onto the train. We're going to take it all the way downtown. And if you've never heard of Palestine, you will hear of Palestine today. And you will bring it back to your friends, your family, your comrades, your organizations, your workplace. And you will ask yourself and everybody, what are we doing to stand with the Palestinian people? What are we doing to stand with black people? What are we doing to stand with indigenous people? What are we doing to stand with prisoners?
The New York City Police Department would like to remind you to keep your belongings inside and stay aware of your surroundings if you see something suspicious in the MTA employee, thanks for riding with us.
If you see something suspicious, if you see something, say something. We see the oppression of the Palestinian people. We're getting off at this stop, West 4th Street. This is our stop. This is our stop. This is our stop. This is our stop. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Yeah. Take it to NYU. To the universities, well, the universities don't get to get off scot-free either. We're bringing this Intifada with us everywhere we go. Everywhere we go. People wanna know who we are. So we tell them. Indigenous liberation, Haitian liberation, African liberation, people's liberation, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be
Intifada. From NYU to CUNY. Globalize the 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 Intifada. 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 Globalize the Intifada.
This is what Globalize the Intifada looks like. They operate in Palestine. They strike, they shut businesses down. They shut everything down. When it comes to standing with martyrs, with prisoners, with Palestinians in different parts of Palestine, in every corner, they shut it down. Gaza shuts it down for the West Bank, and the West Bank shuts it down for Gaza, and Gaza will shut it down for Jenin. Just like Jenin will shut it down for all of Palestine. So the least we can do in New York City is shut it down. The least we can do in New York City is disrupt commerce. It's disrupt empire. It's cause traffic. It's force the Palestinian flag in the face. It's force the message of Globalize the Intifada. Because like we said on the train, they don't have to come to the protest to know that they are our enemies. They don't have to come to the protest to know that they are funding the genocide of the Palestinians, because the protest will come to them. All it takes is a few dozen people to shut down traffic. Look behind you. Look at the cars. They see the Palestinian flags waving. If you don't want traffic, stop sending tax dollars to fund the genocide of Palestinian people. I'm sorry, is this an inconvenience? What about genocide? What do you call that? And that's why we also took the train, because all it takes is a few dozen people to rip through those fake fairs that they only have to criminalize people, as an excuse to arrest people, as an excuse to kick people off the train, as an excuse to criminalize black and brown people in this country, especially black people, like we've seen they've done for the last several centuries. We have to up the stakes. They didn't care when 50,000 of us protested. They knew it was a trend that some people were going to forget about. But for the people who didn't, you know what to do. You know where to bring the passion and energy. And regardless of whether you have tens of thousands of people or just dozens of people, the impact can be the same and even stronger when you shut things down. We protested for all summer, week after week after week after week, culminating in today, but today is not the end, it is just the beginning. Globalizing Intifada is something that's been said since I was a little girl, and it's something that we need to take action on now. It's something that we want people all over the country and the world to do, and there are Globalize the Intifada actions happening all over the country right now. There's one happening in Chicago. We know they're protesting coast to coast and even in Palestine. So take the lessons, the messages the images, the tactics that you learned today, the confidence that you can shut things down with just a few dozen people and bring that back to your university, your workspace, bring it to the museums, and bring it everywhere you go.
So, before we end and we go in the park, I just want to be clear on a couple of things. We're ending at the university at NYU, and we're really kind of reaching out to the students and to the faculty. Our groups, Decolonize This Place within our lifetime, Globalize the Intifada is our way of building power and building movement in the city, and the students are critical to this work. So we're here to support you and support the organizing that's happening on campus. Don't let them isolate schools, universities. We are connected in struggle, and we have to be connected in organizing. So please know that the autonomous actions you do, whether it's a party or it's a cheerleading, an anti-imperialist cheerleading squad, whatever it is, we're here for it. And then finally, I want to shout out the Sunrise Movement. We reached out to people in NYU, you know what I'm saying? And they're doing the organizing, and we want you to know that we're here to support all that work.
We're gonna keep moving in the park. We took over the train. We'll let you guys have back the streets, but at least they saw the message of Palestine. Free! Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
From the river to the sea!
To the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free!
There is only one solution!
There's only one solution!
Intifada revolution!
Intifada revolution!
Intifada! Intifada!
Intifada!
Globalize the Intifada!
Globalize the Intifada!
Everywhere we go!
Everywhere we go!
People wanna know!
People wanna know
Who we are!
who we are!
So we tell them!
So we tell them
We're Intifada!
we're Intifada!
A global Intifada!
Global Intifada!
Fighting for justice!
Fighting for justice!
And people's liberation!
People's liberation!
Palestinian liberation!
Palestinian liberation! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Committing genocide!
Israel, we know you!
Israel, we know you!
You imprison children too!
You imprison children too!
1, 2, 3, 4!
2, 3, 4!
Open up the prison doors!
Open up the prison doors!
5, 6, 7, 8!
5, 6, 7, 8!
Smash the cell
our lifetime.
There is only one solution.
Only one solution.
Intifada revolution.
Intifada revolution.
Intifada, intifada.
Intifada.
Long live Intifada.
Long live Intifada.
Intifada, intifada.
Intifada.
Globalize the 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 Intifada.
And for those of you who don't know what Intifada means shaking off in Arabic. It means an uprising. It means an uprising, a rebellion, a revolution, an overthrow of oppression. We have been fighting intifadas, waging intifadas in Palestine for decades. And we've seen black people in this country also wage intifada, wage revolution. We are inspired by our Palestinian family back home that continue to fight day in and day out against one of the most powerful, most morally corrupt armies in the world. We were inspired when we saw 6 Palestinian prisoners dig their way out of a prison. And how did they dig their way out of that prison? I can't hear you. How did they dig their way out of that prison? You heard that right. The Palestinian will for liberation is so strong that they use spoons and dishes and pots to dig their way out of a so-called maximum security Israeli jail. Just last week we stood here and we did a teach-in on the uprisings in Attica, which coincided with the prison break of Gilboa. I always grew up hearing the phrase from Attica to Ashkelon. Ashkelon is another jail, another prison in Israel where they imprison Palestinians for fighting for their freedom, for fighting for liberation. And they also had a riot around the same time as Attica was happening because they saw the prisoners in New York fighting for their rights and they were inspired by it. And they brought that to the prisons in Palestine. The prisoners who are locked up, who are restricted from what news they can see, can make these connections for themselves, can understand their liberation struggles. They were sending letters to one another. They watch news and updates on one another because they know what it's like to be oppressed and they know what it's like to fight oppression. And what excuse do we have? We have the voice, we have the freedom at least, not because we live in this country, but because we're willing to defy this country, defy Zionism, defy white supremacy. That's what gives us the freedom, the defiance of that. To stand and amplify the voices of prisoners. So that's the least we could do. And we support the prisoners' revolt from Attica to Gilboa from 1971 to 2021. We stand here on the anniversary of the Sabra and Shatila massacre, where Palestinians were slaughtered. But that massacre is still ongoing. And we're hearing reports and talks about the Israeli occupation forces threatening to invade Jenin once again. Jenin is the village where Zakaria Zubaydi is from, but maybe you haven't heard of him because Instagram keeps deleting all of our posts that have to do with him and keep threatening to delete our account. Because they don't want you to know who freedom fighters are, what these freedom fighters look like, what they're fighting for, what their story. That's where he's from. And the IDF is so angry at the people of Jenin and is so angry at Palestinians for continuing to defy the colonization and occupation of our people. So they are threatening to invade Jenin. They are threatening basically another massacre. And on the anniversary of Sabra and Shatila, in which 3,500 Palestinian people were murdered by Zionist-aligned Phalangist forces, with the support of the United States, we honor our martyrs and fight for our land by mobilizing here in the belly of the imperialist beast. 2021 marks a chapter of our struggle in the battle for Palestinian freedom in New York City. From Zakaria Zubaydi to the Gilboa Six, to our hunger strikers, to our prisoners, for our freedom fighters, our martyrs, and the return of our martyrs' bodies to their families. For Gaza, to end the siege and the blockade. To defund settler nonprofits and organizations and cut off all financing to the settler Zionist project of Israel. This is what it means to globalize the Intifada and to demand freedom for everyone. Because Israel is not only complicit in Palestinian oppression, but as one of the largest armies and cyber security and intelligence countries, leading technology on spying on people. Search up Pegasus, NSO spyware, movements and people around the world are fighting and resisting Israeli spyware that's trying to crack down on activists, on revolutionaries. Israeli and US weapons that are made together, that are bought from each other, are sent to all over the world to kill people, oppress people everywhere, not just in Palestine. Today, each of the locations that we hit reflect the location of an office or an enemy or both. An enemy of Palestinian people and colonized people all over the world. So remember these places, because today and beyond, these locations are sites for popular mobilization in defense of our people. Woo! And we end with a quote from one of the liberated prisoners, Mahmoud al-Arda, who said, "God will not ask you why you did not win or why you did not succeed, but God will ask you why you did not try." And this means while some people believe that Palestine will never be free, that the power will always be in the hands of the white supremacists and colonizers and genociders, we know that we will free Palestine within our lifetime. And at least we have the courage to try and to fight for that. You would have never thought tens of thousands of people would be taking the streets in Zionist New York City, shutting it down for Palestine, but it happened. People never thought that Algeria would be free after 100 years of French colonization, but it happened. You are aligning yourself on the right side of history, but don't limit that to the protests. Get the people in your life, the people in your school, the people at your workplace, the people around you to do the same before it's too late. People who said Palestine will never be free, who were laughing at us for protesting 10 years ago, we're on the front lines when it's a trend. And that's going to keep happening over and over and over again. We see it. But we have to keep the principled politics in the front and keep our morals and keep our message in the front. And our message will always be resistance by any means necessary. Resistance until return. Freedom all. From Attica to Gilboa, we will not water down for Zionist funding or grants. We will not water it down to make it palatable for these universities. We will not water it down to make it just about human rights. It's beyond human rights. It's colonization. It's a genocide. We don't want just the human rights for Palestinian people. We want full and total liberation. We want full and total land back. Yes, every inch land back from the river to the sea. Because Palestinian refugees who continue to languish in refugee camps are not going to go to some place that they're not from. If they're not from the West Bank or they're not from Gaza. If their village is 48, they will go back to their village that was stolen from them. And land back to the indigenous people here. You can't talk about climate change or climate justice or whatever you want to call it without talking about indigenous people. So bring that message to your campus. Bring that message to your city, to your state. And keep chanting Intifada because it pisses the Zionists off like no end. Because it keeps resistance at the forefront. And it keeps people knowing that freedom isn't something that they just give to you nicely. It's something that you take. It's something that you demand. It's something that you fight for. And nobody has ever achieved freedom by asking for it nicely from the oppressor. Otherwise, they wouldn't be oppressing us. They wouldn't be doing that. They achieve freedom by fighting for it and by taking it. So we will free Palestine within our lifetime because we understand that it is our generation's responsibility to do it. We will free Palestine!
We will free Palestine!
Within our lifetime!
In our lifetime!
We will free Palestine!
We will free Palestine!
Within our lifetime!
Within our lifetime!
But if you took a banner or a flag or a poster from us today, we're going to start collecting them. We're not going to stop mobilizing. And if you need support, you want these posters on your campus, you want the templates, we got you. Hit us up, WOL Palestine on Instagram for any future actions or mobilizations. And keep chanting, keep making noise for Palestine.
Free Palestine! 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 From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea,
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free!
You know where we are.
New York. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine!